Welcome to another interesting episode in our Doorway to Sindh webinar series, presented by Sindhi Culture Foundation, providing you a glimpse of Sindhi culture and history. The site of Makli, inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1981 as an outstanding testament to Sindhi civilization between the 14th and 18th centuries, is a resting place for royalty, various Sufi saints, and esteemed scholars. Join us as we talk in depth about this site. I now invite Dr. Charu Gadekar to continue.
Hello everyone, my name is Charusmita Gadekar. I'm a PhD in archaeology. Right now I'm a postdoctoral fellowship in IMF CSIC Spain in Barcelona. My specialization is on Indus Valley civilization, and I'm happy to be part of this lecture series. An absolute pleasure to have Sir as the chief guest here, and I'm very thankful to the Sindhi Culture Foundation for making me part of this wonderful series. Sir has received his master's and PhD from University of Karachi, Pakistan, and then I believe he has done two different postdoctoral fellowships in USA and in Germany. He has more than 30 years of, or rather more than 40 years of working in different areas related to archaeology and conservation. He has worked in administration, in management, in different areas from Superior Services of Pakistan, in Secretariat and field jobs, government liabilities, institutions, and directorates. He has also developed extensive youth training programs, and he has founded a lot of various agencies and various foundations. So to list out a few of them, he established the Sindh Adventure and Exploration Society. He is the co-director of Center for Archaeological Environmental Research in Karachi. He established Sukur Historical Society. He also created and administered Directorate of Projects and Special Initiatives in Government of Sindh. He is the founding secretary of the Department of Antiquities, Government of Sindh, and he established Sindh Endowment Fund for Heritage. He started Dr. N.A. Baloch Institute for Heritage Research in Hyderabad, Pakistan. He is the founding member of Mushafiq Khwaja Trust for Learning and Culture. He's also the founding member of Karachi Conference Foundation, which is a non-governmental organization and which promotes understanding issues of Karachi. He has established the Office of the Sindh Central Records under the government of Sindh. He has had extensive collaborations with researchers from Italy, France, Germany, and USA. He is a member of various committees and government bodies, and of course he has to his name numerous articles and books. So more than me, sir, we would like to listen to you. So now the mic is to you, please.
Thank you for being very kind to me. As we are today fixing our gaze on World Heritage Site of Makli, so I should better be describing the background to this thing. Makli is just adjacent to a medieval town that is known as Thatta, and it being an important part of the town, being the necropolis of this city, and it went ahead side by side, seeing the ups and downs of fortune of Thatta. Thatta being the capital of the lower Sindh during medieval period, and Makli provided the resting place to all important people who happen to bid goodbye to the society, and the society in its bid to give very good resting place to their heroes, to their loved ones, created beautiful monuments and also the stone carved graves. So this made Makli almost a wonder of the world while looking at the funeral architecture. The variety of these structures is mind boggling because it combines the influence from the various entities from the Central Asia and also from the areas on its east as Gujarat, Kachawar, and this has made sort of an amalgam of the funerary structures that the necropolis got world attention and it was declared as the world's joint heritage. So this is a common heritage and it is reflected on the list of the World Heritage. Now, this area fascinated every visitor who came by, and initially people were compelled to say that there are more than 2 million graves. So, this 18th and 19th century perception was so powerful that it prevailed up to the later part of this century, the last century. And in its citation, UNESCO also went ahead with saying that there are 500,000 graves on this necropolis. So this made it, though it is a misnomer, it makes Makli the largest necropolis in the world. That is not correct. And the game of numbers is not important here. What is important is that the beauty of the structures and the celebration of the calligraphy, which you find here, is so wonderful that it provides you a very unique aesthetic experience when you are face to face with these monuments. While this necropolis was under the gaze of the world, still one larger part of this necropolis still stands neglected. That is not the part of the World Heritage Site. That is rather adjacent to these 900 plus acres, and this additional part which is there, it is equally old and it is equally beautiful, but that part has been eaten away by the modern development. So there are the government offices, there are the stadiums, and there are the residential settlements. So we have lost almost half of the Makli itself, and it has gone to the modern development, and the half remains intact because of the fact that during the colonial period, the area was fenced and it was then brought under the management of Archaeological Survey of India. And due to the law which was there, this area was maintained and kept aside, and then no modern development affected this. Now, the question was how to present this most beautiful and wonderful material development to the people, to the public, because world which has its gaze on this side cannot, you see, comprehensively understand the intricacies and the finer points which are there. They can appreciate a generality, and the general appreciation is always not very correct. We see in every citation that people start claiming that this graveyard is the resting place of the queens and kings and princes. On the contrary, when we have the look on the historical part of this area and the history of the 6 centuries when this Makli was flourishing, we find that this area was never being capital of any king, but rather it was adjacent, adjunct of the kingdoms which were enforcing their authority on this part variously. At one time, the Delhi Sultanate was the overlord, and then came the Central Asian forces which took over, and they paid allegiance to the Baba. Now, this was the initial days of Mughals in India. So, this area never was the capital of any kingdom or any sultanate. So, this is one thing. So, this deprives this area of, and it's the graveyard is also spared of the kings and queens. So, there are no kings, no queens there. But of course, there are the poets buried there, there are the society elders there, there are intellectuals in their own right, and also the important persons of the society which are buried there. So, this burial is celebrated in one way or the other. One way was the architectural importance. So, these people who were coming from all walks of life and from all adjacent regions contributed their bit into the development of the architecture. So if somebody was from the Persian attached areas, so they were very happy to bring in the Kashi. It was the glazed tiles which were there. If somebody was from the Gujarat, so he brought the Gujarati artisan to work on the stone. So this was mostly the influences which was present within this region, and here all the artisans tried to accomplish their craft to the satisfaction of the sponsors which were local, which were residing there. So now this was the local inspiration and the craftsmanship of the region. So here we have the Kashikari, we have the stone carving, and we have the masonry with the bricks. That was amazing thing, and the quality of the bricks is so much worth noticing that even today you can see the hardness and the tinker sound of the brick, which makes it lovely to see. And the density of the brick is such that you can hardly see a spore within the mud baked bricks, which is the hallmark of the brick, but you can hardly find it with your naked eyes. So it is so smooth, and such a quality is there. So this is the architectural part, and then there is the calligraphic part. I always term Makli as the exhibition museum of the calligraphy. As you know that there are many scripts when the calligraphers practice their art. So there is the Naskh, and there is Sulus, and there is Khatte Bahar, and Mukhatte Muhakkik. So these are various types of writing which are practiced here on stone, on Kashi, and it is an amazing experience when you are face to face with this writing. Richard Burton, when was visiting this area, came to notice this beauty, though he was a scholar of Arabic as well, you know. So he described the beauty of the calligraphy that you can admire it, but you cannot decipher it. So the calligrapher were so sort of accomplished, and they are creating the surfaces on the stone and keeping in view the requirements of the smaller canvas which was available in the shape of the cenotaphs. The cenotaphs we keep over the graves. So keeping in view the small scale canvas which was available to them. So they tried to put in more material within smaller space So this way, they create the multiple lines in a single linear expression, and that makes it very difficult to go on reading. So this type of writing, which is appearing on the cenotaphs, is an amazing experience if you are face to face with this. The question is, what is written there on the graves? When we see, then we find that yes, there is the religious text, mostly the Quran is there, and then there are the Persian quotations, poetry, and then there is normal funerary statement. It is the epitaph that so and so, son of so, is buried here. Now, these epitaphs are again not very simple statements. They are wonderful statements. And within those statements, sometimes you find the age is hidden. This is another art when the poets compose the epitaph, and it is called Katayatari. So they compose it in a manner where they express their sadness, their grief, their remorse, but they hide within the line, within the words, the composition. And if you decipher that, you come to say that it is the year 1643. And this art of writing Katay Tarikh is perfected within the many Islamic graveyards.
In archaeology, we always try to understand why a site was set up at that particular area. So why? Is there any significance, particular significance, why this area was selected as the necropolis?
I'm really happy about this good question. The Thatta town was established by Sammas. Sammas were the local brave tribe who had the chance to overcome the difficulties within the region and came to be in grips with the situation, and they took over the management of this area. And while in their ascertaining their influence, they shifted from Badin to Thatta, and they actually developed this area for their headquarters. Now, this headquarters was equally holding the area of Makli within, Makli being the hillock, being the higher grounds, and Thatta being in the vicinity of the river Indus. And one of the arms of river Indus was actually encircling this hillock as well. So the town, the hillock, and in between there was a stream which was flowing. So this, the grounds, the stream, and the hillock. At that time, in the vicinity, there was one sacred burial ground where these people used to go and bury their dead. That sacred ground was some 20 kilometers away from Thatta. So, one of the intellectuals at that time implored upon the chief of Sama to change the land use. So, he asked him that the Makli is such a place and it deserves some attention, and the city people deserve some solace, and it will be easier for them to bury their dead here rather than going 20 kilometers away. So, on the advice of that wise man, Jam Tamachi, the Samma chief, agreed. This intellectual is known as Sheikh Hamad Jamali. Sheikh was a very proficient architect, and he has to his credit two different structures which are still standing on Makli. One structure is in a very Central Asian manner where you have the multi walls and it is the brick structure. Another structure which he built was with the stone. And that style of Gujarati stone builders is seen here in perfection. So this sheikh thought it that it is wiser to utilize this wonderful area because it is safe for the burial because on the grounds you will be so often come across the fillets. And in their view and the value system of their society, they had respect for the dead more than the care for the living. So they can move, they can shift when they are on the fillets. But they consider that the dead can't shift, the dead can't move. So it is the right of the dead to be buried in a secure and safe place. So this was the major reason that Makli was selected. And there is clear indication that the civic sense was so strong that the land use was only changed on the advice of the chief. If the chief couldn't have ordered, nobody was able to take law in their own hands and go and bury there.
Today we are going to hear from Ms. Yasmin Lari, the first female architect from Pakistan. That's such an honor to have you here, ma'am. Absolute pleasure. And so ma'am has done her architecture in Oxford, Brookes University. She's a member of, she became a member of Royal Institute of British Architects in 1969. She founded Heritage Foundation of Pakistan in 1980 along with her husband Suhail Zahir Lari. Her basic focus is on traditional building techniques and using local materials. Again, I'm not going to list out a lot of things because the list goes on and on. But I think as far as I was able to understand, she prefers designing state-of-art buildings for corporate sectors, but at the same time working in informal settlements and low-income housing with focus on women's needs. She has done a lot on advocacy, research, and conservation for heritage projects. She has written a lot of monographs and training manuals. She has worked in post-disaster communities with a concentration on sustainable shelters and women's economic empowerment. I think the latest work that you are involved in, ma'am, deals with zero carbon footprint constructions, especially using lime, bamboo, and adobe or the mud, which is more sustainable and better for the environment as well. To list out some of the awards, in 2018, ma'am has received fuel efficient and for the fuel efficient and affordable chulas that she designed, the World Habitat Award. In 2018, she founded, and I think she's still the current chairperson of Pakistani chapter of International Networks for Traditional Buildings, Architecture and Urbanism. In 2006, she was awarded the highest civil awards by the government of Pakistan, known as Sitara-e-Imtiaz. In 2011, she was awarded the first Wonder Woman of the Year award of Pakistan. She won the Fukuoka Prize in 2016, and last year she has won the Jainju Prize as her role in the women in architecture. So yes, ma'am, the platform is all yours.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you so much. I'm sorry it was such a long one, but anyhow. But thank you indeed, and I'm very grateful to Aruna for inviting me because It's such a pleasure and such an honor to be here with an organization that's working so hard towards cultural aspects, and especially on Sindh. So I feel greatly privileged to be invited and to be here with all of you. Just to give you a little bit more information about myself, I practiced as a what they call a star architect for some time, but I retired in the year 2000. I don't design those buildings anymore, not the corporate sector. I am more involved with humanitarian work because since 2005, when the earthquake hit, since then, that's the work I do. And that's why it's more like, all the things that I do are more affordable. But also, I think what I would like to portray today is how heritage plays such an important part and a role in terms of uplifting, disadvantaged communities, especially the ones that are impoverished, by using what we learn from heritage or what we can convey, the lessons that we can learn in terms of craft and other activities, so that it's not only just conservation for the sake of conservation, but how do you have engagement with communities so that they are also uplifted? And that's been my focus for some time now. So I'd like to prepare a presentation on Makli, because I thought it was a very good opportunity to be able to, convey or show to you what Makli is all about. And it's also because my husband, who unfortunately passed away last year because of COVID, but he had been the one who'd been really working in Makli since the late 1980s. And he has a tremendous number of photographs that he's taken over, long period of time. So our involvement in Makli has been very long, and we're very lucky and very privileged to have been able to do that, because not everybody who gets a chance to work on a World Heritage Site for such a long time. So it's been tremendously very exciting and also very rewarding in many ways to be able to work on those particular aspects of Makli. Makli World Heritage Site is situated in Tata in Sindh. And I'll be talking about, as I said, heritage and community engagement. Mm-hmm. And to see what we are trying to do. It's been some years now, and we're trying very hard to see how we can bring in communities into the whole process of safeguarding heritage. And a little bit about Heritage Foundation of Pakistan. It's a not-for-profit social and cultural entrepreneur organization established in 1980. As Charu explained, it's co-founded with my husband, and that was to safeguard Pakistan's heritage. But since 2005, because of the earthquake that we had, which is a total disastrous earthquake, we got involved in also in heritage, in humanitarian work. And now I try to link heritage with post and pre-disaster communities. So basically, there are two segments to it: the heritage management, as you see on the left, and humanitarian assistance on the right, and incorporating spirit of volunteerism and commitment to causes. So as Charu explained, we've been very lucky to receive some international awards, and that, of course, helps in carrying things forward. So what I wanted to just share with you, that I think there's a huge, an amazing, rich cultural heritage that we possess in Pakistan, and I'm sure that you do that in India as well. But really, we go back to Bronze Age Mohenjo-daro, as you know, and Charu is working on Indus Valley civilization. She knows well about what Mohenjo-daro is all about. And of course, we do have Hindu, Buddhist, and Gandhara, civilization, which is amazing kind of remains that we have in Pakistan. Then there are Sultanate period sites, and one of them you see on the left-hand side, which is the tomb of Jam Nizamuddin. And then Mughal palaces, paradisal gardens, we have it all. And then, of course, the British colonial shared heritage as well. And what I haven't somehow not listed, and that's all the Sikh heritage, because we have amazing kind of stuff there in Lahore, because as you know, it was the seat of Ranjit Singh's government. And so we have some amazing structures there as well. And then, of course, there's the intangible heritage, which is the Sufi traditions and spiritualism that's almost in so many different areas and cities. There's folklore and oral history, there's folk traditions, and there's also diverse crafts which are there and which somehow we need to really nurture and bring forward. And then there's the vernacular heritage, which is locally sourced materials and which utilizes age-old wisdom of our various communities. Those are normally not taken into consideration, but I think it has a very tremendous impact on whatever we do, and that's very important to keep on nurturing all that as well. And then our engagement with Makli, as I said, started in 1988 with my husband, who started off photographing and looking at it. So topographical survey of Sama cluster we did in 1987. Makli's first pictorial catalog we did with Prince Claus Fund in 2011. Tomb of Nizamuddin, Inventory of Makli's Heritage Assets, e-data bank for Sindh Heritage. So we have this we did with Dr. Michael Jansen with his Aachen University. And then we did a survey of Kashi and Sindh, which was supported by UNESCO in Paris. And then we made Makli World Heritage Map that had not been done before, where we marked everything out in terms of tangible and intangible heritage. We've done a lot of documentations, we've got lots of publications, and we provided lots of emergency assistance also to many of the monuments. And then glaze style treatment and community engagement. So this is all sum total of what we've been trying to do. And I'm really deeply involved with that. So this is just a few glimpses of, surveys and documentation. This is a map of Makli. As you see, we defined the buffer zone and the basically the core zone, which had never been actually mapped before, that we did in 2014. So as you can see, it's the world's largest Muslim necropolis. It's the most amazing site. Goes over 400, sort of years, 4 centuries spanning 4 centuries, and many different ruling dynasties of Sindh. Some native, some coming from across, and so on. And in the subcontinent, particularly in area that is now Pakistan, there've been so many invasions and people coming in and dominating and so on. So that's basically Pakistan area, or at least the northern Pakistan was the area from where everybody came. And so we have lofty tombs and ornate cenotaphs, beautifully drawn, beautifully carved. And then it's a unique mix of tangible and intangible heritage. There are not very many sites in the world which are a mix of the two. So it has an absolutely amazing kind of feel about it. And you can really, when you go there, then you experience it, and it's something remarkable. And I would really encourage everybody to come and come to Makli and come and sort of stay there even. So yeah, I think you'll really enjoy it. So you can see Sama period tombs, 14th to 16th century, but 19 are there, our own rule. Early to middle 16th century, the Khan rule was middle to late 16th century, and Mughal rule from 17th to 18th century, where you have. So we have about 75 monuments that are still extant, that are standing, and lots of platforms and stone graves that are beautifully carved, and there are lots of other graves as well. So you can see the different periods are mapped on this map on the right-hand side. Basically, the clusters are, you can see the different clusters, although there's a lot of overlapping as well. And at the base, you see the wonderful profile or a silhouette of the necropolis when you see it, from the north. No, sorry, when you see it from the east, actually. So this is where we are, and we'll just carry on further. This is again a map that was done by us, where we show where the different monuments are, and then you can see the basically icons of different ones, that the more important ones. And on the right, you see a drone view of it as to how the whole expanse is there, and you see some of the beautiful monuments that are there. Then I thought I'll just present to you also what's happening around Makli. So there's, of course, the Sufi shrines are a very important part of the whole monument of the whole site of this World Heritage Site. And as you can see, there are really so many. I think about 24 of Sufi shrines are there. So that brings a huge kind of feeling of a kind of religious fervor. But it's not religious in the narrow sense, but that everybody from any kind of denomination, any kind of background are able to come, and they relate to Sufi shrines. The Sufi shrines are not for one religion or the other. And that is something that you see in Makli very much. Because the Sufis who came, they brought a message of peace to everybody. So you find all kinds of faiths coming there and praying there. So, and then of course, on the right, you see the mendicant villages. That this is full of those people who come to the shrines and come, because a lot of people, when they come to the shrines, they want to give charity. This is how our custom is. So there are a lot of beggars who come and congregate there to be able to take advantage of it. And also there are lots of soup kitchens and so on. But that means there's a huge amount of poverty in that. And there are a lot of people who have really nothing. They're in a highly degraded state and a highly deprived state. So what we are trying to do, and that's why I wanted to show you the connection, although it's such a remarkable site, but at the same time, there's so many people around it who live around it, who are deprived of even the most basic necessity. They're the poorest of the poor live around here. And that is the tragedy of it. And I mean, this is what we feel that we need to do something about. And then this is I'll just show you, this is again a drone video, and maybe it'll give you an idea, I thought, of the whole site. It's on a hill, so it commands everything all around it. And the drop that you have on the left-hand side, that's where River Sindh actually used to flow. But then it has changed course, so it's gone further away. But the area is still very much kind of in a depression. And the most beautiful building is the one in the center, which is the tomb of Jam Nizamuddin. That is really the time when Islam had arrived in subcontinent, and the Hindu traditions were very strong. So you see this amazing amalgamation of design that is both Islamic in nature and also very much like Hindu kind of where like devout kind of a carving. So this is one of the most important structures that we have in Makli. But everything else then starts becoming transformed into more kind of with more Muslim traditions. But Jam Nizamuddin is still there, which shows how it was before. And we'll show a little bit and we'll see. So, but let's see, after Jam Nizamuddin, I'll just move on, but I just want you to see. So it's got absolutely amazing characteristics. And the funny thing is, or not funny, but what was surprising to me was that arches are there, but the arches are not true arch. These arches are actually cobbled, the stones are brought together. So trying to make something Islamic when the tradition of building was not there. So this is the first one that were done. And look at this beautiful Jaroka. It's just not a single part of it is without any carving. It's a beautiful carving, absolutely. So and you can see the cupolas, and you can see how the chhatris have come about. Yeah, this is you can see this. I mean, it's like filigree. It's like like done in wood. It doesn't appear that it's done in stone. It must be so difficult to carve all this. But there we are. So I think we'll just move on to the next one, so that because you got an idea on this. So there are, Jam Nizamuddin, we just showed you, 15th century, Munir Makhfuri, 17th century. So I wanted to show you, this is the stone monument as to what it is, and then the brick monument. The brick monuments are also beautifully decorated, mostly with kashi, which is the glazed tile work. And then, of course, you have lots of these chhatri types, which are made out of stone. And then just to show you that we did all the documentation and so on, because we've really been working on it quite hard for everything. So lots of documents been produced on everything. Books and publications, you can see, and I'll show you some of them, but quite a few that we published between my husband Suhail and myself, but mostly him actually. And so you can see they're there, and they document different parts of Makli. And then these are the conservation work that we've carried out. There was the 15th century tomb of Samma Noble I, which is all brick. Tomb of Mirza Jan Baba, 16th century, which is all stone. Again, brick of Munir Makhfuri with the, because the tomb of Samma Noble I is Samma period, so it's really very early. And then you come to 17th century, you find very beautiful Kashi. Then there's Al-Ashabi Mosque that we restored with very little money as my special technique of what I call sort of preliminary or rather emergency intervention, in which I use only very low cost materials like ordinary brick and lime and so on, and we have done that. And then tomb of Amir Sultan is a stone tomb, and tomb of Khusro Charkas is Satcharni that we're doing. But the most important one that we've done is this one, which is tomb of Sultan Ibrahim, and that's the one that has led us to really specialize in Kashi or glazed tile work. So this is what we do generally. All the studies are done, introduction, projects. When we're doing conservation, I feel it's our duty that everybody knows what's been done, and it's in a public domain. So we must put everything, do it. So they are thick documents for each one of the sites that we've taken. And then, of course, we have to follow international charters and guidelines. So we always form a consultative committee with various kinds of experts, and we have strict control and supervision, etc. And then really regular reports are done, and then simple principles: do no harm, least intervention, protect all original evidence and materials, use reversible techniques, use matching materials, respect its age, avoid making it look new. Because one of the hurdles, as you all know, who are in conservation, that when you start working as a conservation of a historic monument, you're very tempted to put everything new because you know that you can do it. But that means that it takes away from really its own what we call OUV, which is the universal value of the whole thing. So we have to be very, very careful. And a lot of times I'm criticized because they say, it's not done, you haven't finished the work. But we don't want to finish the work. We want to leave a lot of evidence that we find, which may not be in very good condition, but we don't want to replace it. So this is what we're trying to do. There's a stone tomb of Mirza Jan Baba. As you will see in this one, these domes are gone. They were stone domes, but we had this one as a kind of example that was left, a prototype. And then I'm afraid I took some very controversial step of making the other domes in bamboo, because I work in bamboo with my humanitarian work. So we decided to do that because I didn't want to inflict too much weight on this, but the graves below this, the cenotaphs, were very important. They were the most important part of this monument and they had to be protected. So either I could have done it in stone, but that would have been sacrilege because, we would be trying to replicate something which is not right. So we did it in bamboo. It is reversible, it's very light, it inflicts nothing on the, and I was under criticism for doing this because how could you use bamboo in such a fantastic tomb? But I think it's done well. It's protected the basic, the most important heritage features, and it's surviving very well indeed. So I just wanted to show you this. So, then we have gone on to the glazed tile Kashi treatment. I'll show you the couple of monuments that we've done with this. UNESCO World Heritage Center came to help in this, and we developed the whole Kashi expertise and so on. And we trained lots of local artisans as well. And then this I wanted to show you. We did a whole study of what Kashi is about in Sindh, and you can see how beautiful it is. And you must have heard of a chap called Henry Cousins, who did this amazing volume of glazed tile of Sindh, and he did incredible kind of documentation actually. And this is where the British did a fantastic job of just recording everything. And we may agree or disagree with what their actual intentions were, but I think they've left us a huge amount of recorded material which can be very useful for us. Okay, so this is a study we did on where Kashi was in Sindh. So you can see the main centers, Sevan, Hala, Nasarpur, Hyderabad, and Makli. And then we did a study to see where there were the most buildings surviving, in which center. Turns out that Hala had only 4, Hyderabad 11, Nasarpur 2, but Makli and Tanta had 23. Because everybody thought that Makli was not the center of Kashi. But I've always felt in my guts that Makli was the place. And so when we did the study, we found, yes, in Makli itself and all around, 23 monuments were there which had carried Kashi. So I really feel that Makli was the center of Kashi in Sindh. So here we are, just to show you what kind of Kashi is being done today by different artisans and so on. And then this is the other tomb, the one that I showed you earlier, which is the tomb of Munir Makhfuri. And I'll just show you a little clip on this as well to show you what it was like when we took Necropolis, of course, we just saw, and I just thought I'd put a couple of pictures here so you can see now in more detail. You can see how beautiful this is. These are the actual colors actually there, which are so beautiful. So, and then again, the work is going on of collection of this, that, and the other by our. These are all people who are from the beggar communities. They're all the ones who live around there, and they've all been trained, and they're so careful and so good, I cannot tell you. And so now this is the other one that I wanted to show you, which is called the tomb of Sultan Ibrahim. This is 16th century, and here now you see the Central Asian influence. You see the double dome, which is the Timurid dome, and this is the, I think from our studies we can see that this is the first Kashi or glaze style work in Sindh, or at least in Makli, and it's very, very beautifully done. So just wanted to show you some of the work that's going on and how we put everything together. And here I just wanted to just show you a kind of a modeling of it as to how it was when we took over. You can see traces of Kashi. Kashi was everywhere. Here, unfortunately, we lost quite a bit. But you can see how beautiful it would have been. I mean, the whole thing would have glistened, you know, in the sun from a distance, because the dome is really tall. It's very beautiful. You go inside, it's amazing kind of feel about the whole thing. So anyhow, then, oops, yeah. So now this is something that we had to replicate because we found one side, the north facade, which had actually the whole, the ayat, from the verse from the Quran, which was repeated elsewhere, because in other places we found fragments of that. So we decided that this was something so important that this must be, we kept, this is the original one, and we decided that we must replicate it on the other sides as well. This is one thing that we did, because it's a tomb, and this ayat means a lot in terms of adding to the whole feel of the whole thing. And so my husband was able to, Suhail Lari was able to decipher everything. He was able to guide us. And this was really amazing because he knew so much about Makli that for conservation, it was amazingly helpful to us to see, you know, how to keep the feel of it, how to keep the character and the integrity of the structure. And as a skin, it was really one of the most difficult tasks, I can tell you, because first of all, just to stitch together as to how it was, and making every tile to be able to do it, it took a lot of hard work. But it's great fun, and it was very enjoyable. You can see how the artisans are working, how we learned to make the tiles, and then how to do the calligraphy, and how to join things together, and see the coloring, matching coloring, because you know, when you do the firing in different batches, then the colors don't match, and to match it with something existing, that was quite a lot of hard work, and I can tell you lots of sleepless nights as well. You know, it's just it was very tough. And then, of course, inside we had these diagonal tiles, so that was not such a problem. They were easy, but the calligraphy was, you know, it was very difficult. And then what I wanted to show you was how we were able to train our mendicant women, the beggar women, to start doing Kashi. That was the amazing thing that we could do. I mean, I never thought we'd be able to, because it took us a couple of years to see that these women or somebody from there would agree to learn. And they kept on saying, just give us things and don't ask us to, you know, we just want charity. So this woman, I consider a real, you know, a real hero, because this is Karima. Karima is a Hindu woman, and she, we somehow got her to start working, and she got very involved in it. And then she would, you know, start selling the stuff, selling Kashi pieces, these miniature Kashi pieces, where she used to beg from, and started to make money. And then she started to teach others. So it became like a, you know, something that was growing. And then, you know, we designed different sort of jewelry pieces and everything, and they went on producing them. And then we have this, again, an incredible old man who knows so much about Kashi and everything. And so he was the one who became the tutor. And so in our workshop, they all started to work. And that's what we've taken forward. So there are different items of Kashi that we were able to produce. We learned how to do. I'd never done this before. My staff had never done it, but we all learned to do glazing of this, and also how to fire and what to do and so on. So this is kind of terracotta beads, and these are very popular, these bowls. They have a Makli pattern on them. We also make these spoons, which are really hugely popular, and even like a mirror frame and so on. This is all made out of, and it all comes from Makli, really. It all comes from that ancient craft. And the ancient craft, I think we can spread everywhere. And if we can do that, then I think, we can really deal with poverty in so many different ways. So I just wanted to show you that this, sorry, I brought this in just to show you how the applications are. On the left is this terribly highly degraded area in the city of Karachi, the old, which I call the historic core. This is called, very close to Karadar and so on, where the old town basically. And when the British came, this wasn't there, but this was very much close to the original little fortified town. And on the right is what I designed as an eco-enclave. So the same street, you can see how it's transformed. But the major reason why it looks so good is the tiles that my women have made at Makli. The beggar women who nobody thought they would do anything, and they have done it. And each one has their name stamped at the back of it, and each one has done it so lovingly. There's 150,000 they made. So, and again, this is again on the right-hand side, we have this amazing Densu Hall, 1887. And again, you can see the pavement, and it was on the left is how it was when we took over. So again, in terms of transformation of areas within urban areas, and to bring in, sort of semi-urban or rural settings, bring in crafts and bring them into an urban setting, I think there's something that can be very valuable, because everybody knows these have come from Makli. We tell them this is not, and then people who did not even know about Makli now know what it is. So I think it's very important to keep on relating these things to each other. So I just thought that, yeah, in the middle slide you can see how the all these tiles, all these are made by women who were beggars earlier on. And this one is what I call a porous pavement, because we were trying to deal with urban flooding and all kinds of things, the climate change whole thing is kind of interlinked in that way. And so 50 women, 45 men, in 12 months of work, and 150,000 tiles, terracotta tiles are made. These are direct result of our work with the Sultan Ibrahim and Munir Makhfuri. If we hadn't done that, we would not have known that this can be done. And now we are ready that this whole terracotta work can be spread all around Sindh for any kind of villages. We know that they can be taught. And now very quickly, my barefoot social architecture, because I have to tell you about it, it's all about zero carbon also. That for instance, in these, for these years, we've been able to provide, really humanitarian assistance to about 0.84 million people. That's about 100,000 families a year. And 100,000 people a year. And this is just to do with basic needs of, their shelter and water and toilets and chula. So that's what's been happening here. And then there's a whole barefoot ecosystem, I believe, in countries like ours, where the poor people, if we were to train them, then they can help the other poor to have a better quality of life. So everything has to be affordable. But this is another one, we'll have another discussion sometime if you're interested, how I think we can, really get the poorest of the poor to become empowered and to be able to have a better quality of life themselves. Because I don't think any governments or any aid or anybody from the world can provide assistance to so many millions of people who have nothing. And unless we do this, I don't see how we can reach them. And this is all to do with getting, inspiration from heritage and from what we have. That all exists in our countries. So this is just to show you how we train and how the training goes on. I believe in co-creation and co-building. So the basic structure is a bamboo structure, and then you can see how they apply and beautify these. These are all, these are all interior of Sindh. They do this beautiful decoration. Charu mentioned my mother Chula, the World Habitat Chula. So the story of this is that I was invited to go to Nairobi to receive the trophy. I declined and requested the executive director to come to Pakistan. So we had a special event where he came and he presented to the president of Pakistan, who's right here. And then it was given to me, and I presented to this woman here. This is Champa, the icon, the Chula icon. And the Chula icon is so amazing. She's the one who has trained so many, in the sense that she's a barefoot entrepreneur. She and her husband, Kanji. They're also Hindus, incidentally. And they've done a phenomenal job, because she charges 200 rupees per Chula training to women, rural women. And she has herself been instrumental in building at least something like, 35,000 of these stoves. Not build them herself, but train others or guided others. and she's made 7 million rupees in the process. So this is where the barefoot entrepreneurs can make money if you just have, if we teach them the right kind of things that are useful for the other poor, not for the urban settlements. These are some of the people that we have trained. Again, just the processes, some 8 villages that we have gone and done various kinds of things that are related to, again, to heritage also, which is some are doing kashi work, some are doing earth building and lime and so on. This I wanted to show you is my campus. It's called the Zero Carbon Campus, and it's for trainings and for conferences. And this is what it looked like in 2019. We had a very big international conference there, and all bamboo, and it's all open. So the breeze just comes in, and it's very cool as well. And this is how the stage is. And this is our international delegates who had come, and they stayed there as well. They took part in our green kind of techniques, which is to do with, as you know, earth, lime, and bamboo. This is it, and the low cost, zero carbon, zero waste for saving the planet and the destitute around the world. And Heritage Foundation's humanist architecture draws upon vernacular traditions and cultural heritage to foster green methodologies and green social enterprises. This is what we are doing. So thank you so much for being so patient. Thank you, Charu. Very kind. Okay.
Amazing. I mean, I don't have words to say. I mean, this is outstanding work. I mean, thank you so much for sharing this.
Thank you.
Wow.
It's great fun. It's great fun doing it. I can tell you that.
अजब उतर पार दे ताड़े की तवार अजब उतर पार दे ताड़े की तवार हार न हर संभारा मुझा सरिया ता संकार अजब मुझे यार वसण गावे सकिया अजब उतर पार दे ओ अजब उतर पार दे ककर तो कार करे अजब उतर पार दे ककर तो कार करे वसे तो वड पुड़ियो कालक खंड भरे विजण निशान वरे मुझ सकार सुख दिए हो तो के सिंधड़ी सारे हो तो के सिंधड़ी सारे